everyone, welcome to our session tonight on Facebook. Today we have Mr. Tyler Vunk joining us from Vested Academics. He's a well-known individual in the student and parents and as far as providing support for families. And so we have invited him tonight to kind of answer some questions on how to get organized so that your students can submit their assignment on time. And so I'm going to let Tyler go ahead and introduce himself, and then we'll jump right in. Take it away.
Hey, Francine.
Hi.
Hi. So thanks for having me today. As you said, Tyler Vunk from Vested Academics. We offer learning support, more specifically in terms of helping students get better grades, executive functioning, organizational skills, and then also college planning as well, helping students from grade 8 through high school, the end of high school, sort out the college planning process. But yeah, I'm glad we finally had a minute to connect on a call, Francine. This has been a couple of crazy months.
Yes, awesome. Yeah, and Tyler and I have been trying to plan this session for a while. As you know, we have a wide variety of students that come to us here at Mathnasium. We work with students from grade kindergarten to 12th grade, and what we see, especially with the pandemic, is that the schedule and the workload has increased for some, but the diversity and the variety of the work has changed and has kind of forced students and family to readapt to a new way of learning, a new way of managing school and assignments and homework for students. So my first question for you, Tyler, is with all of this crazy remote learning and the new times, what is your recommendation as you've been working with students? I'm sure you have experienced this as well. What is your recommendation on how a student or families should manage the multiple classes, assignments, Zoom call, website that are due to be efficient?
Yeah, so I think that one of the things that everybody has to recognize, if they haven't already, is that less is more. We're only going to be able to get so much done via video conferencing in terms of, the amount of schoolwork that one can get done during the day. But in terms of staying organized, I think that a lot of it comes down to some of the old-fashioned stuff, having a planner, whether that's going to be a paper planner or a digital planner or some kind of organizer. And then if your kids didn't keep one before, making sure that they know how to keep one now is critical. Now, I know a lot of parents out there are still struggling a little bit with Google Classroom, if that's something their school uses, if they're in public school, for instance. I think that taking some time and familiarizing yourself with that is really going to pay off in the long run. But really, I don't want anybody to freak out, because I think that we all have to take a step back and just go, you know what, it's going to be what it's going to be for now. And
right.
For the most part, what you should focus on is quality and not quantity. So if there's in particular a subject, say math, for instance, that your child is struggling with, then potentially helping them fill some of those learning gaps in that specific subject, or maybe they have a tough time with ELA or reading. I would just focus on one thing at a time, because ultimately, when you're trying to spread yourself thin, it's just not going to pan out.
Wow. You made a good point there, Tyler, when you say quality over quantity, and it's essentially being able to start an assignment and being able to finish it and doing it well is one thing. I also agree with your technology comment. I know for me as a parent, you may have 3 different kids at different grade level, and we might have one in middle school and one in elementary school. And so the way that the homework is assigned and the way that is tracked may be different. And so I know that the technology and figuring a way around that is definitely can be tricky. And so using the resources, as you mentioned, learning about the system and understanding what's posted where. I've even seen students keep different binders for, homework that's due remotely, homework that's due in person. So it sounds like, definitely being organized and giving yourself grace is probably the main takeaway from your advice, would you say?
Yeah, I would. I would also just point out that what everybody's experiencing right now is basically simulated college. You have kids who are attending lectures on in this online forum, or in this hybrid model, and they're just being given all this work, and there's
Right.
not as much follow through. And is this the teacher's fault? Absolutely not.
No.
It's just the way things are. So I point out for our high school parents, if you're wondering if your kid's ready for college, now you know.
That's right. This is good training, good training.
Yeah.
All right. So as far as keeping track of the homework, or as you mentioned, quality over quantity, would you recommend having families to set up some kind of time limit to work on assignments and then move on if it's not complete, so you don't have a student maybe working on something, one thing over like a large period of time? What is your recommendation in terms of setting goals and time limit for assignments so that there's essentially an end in sight?
Yeah, I found that a lot of kids now are actually moving through things at such a rapid pace because
Mm-hmm.
they have so many little mini assignments in Google Classroom. And a lot of teachers are being lenient with the idea of whether you turn something in or not. But I think actually what I'm finding is that kids' attention spans are decreasing,
Yeah.
even more so. But for instance, so if you have a kid that's perseverating on a given assignment and saying,
Mm-hmm.
no, I have to do this, I have to get this in, I think that the first recommendation would be just let them know that, you know what, maybe that was true before, but now things are a little different, and we
Mm-hmm.
all have to be a little bit more flexible.
Mm-hmm.
I think that opens the conversation for balance, and just explaining, you know what, if homework time usually was, let's say, an hour and a half, for high school it could be a little bit more, right?
Right,
But
right.
if homework time is around an hour and a half, then we keep it to that amount, because as anybody who's an adult working from home knows, it's really easy to extend past healthy work habits and just stay on video conferences all day, or just be glued to your computer and doing work. Same thing is true for these kids. So a lot of our clients I see, they'll be doing their homework online or school online, and then they'll be relaxing, air quotes, online as well.
Right.
So, getting them to take a step away from the screen, even if it's just, um, you know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes is huge. But yeah, setting boundaries is the first step towards making sure that they can still keep some semblance of balance.
Thank you for sharing that. I totally appreciate that, because even for us adults, as working from home, and we have a tendency to work around the clock. So now that the remote learning is taking place in the car, basically on vacation, at home, it's easy to kind of get carried away and forget to set up that balance and make sure that the kid is going out to play, and not worry so much maybe about when the homework is due, but more so focusing on making sure that they get what they need also as kids, and to continue to grow and succeed. Thank you. Thank you for that insight. And then, as I was looking, I was listening to you, I heard you say that, some teachers are flexible, which is true. We've seen a lot of flexibility even with our students here as far as submitting assignments and so forth. And so let's say you have a student who, procrastinate, maybe is not so comfortable with the subject, or forgot about an assignment, or, needs to get some kind of organization in place. How about the students that always wait until the last minute and this is due tomorrow, and all of a sudden we remember that we have multiple things that are due, even if you've asked them as a parent before, what do you have to? So how can we make sure as parents and as educators to make sure that the process is smoother and sets the student up for success?
That's the magic question, right?
Right.
So I think that it first, it depends on the grade level.
Okay.
So if you're talking about grade school kids, say 3, 4, 5, right? Grade 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
It's going to be a much different conversation than if we're talking about high school students, or even undergrad students, or
Right.
middle school students. But essentially, what I like to explain to them is that there's a difference in between short-term memory and long-term memory. And when we, take our time and expose ourselves to material slowly over time, we digest this information and our brain starts to put all these different connections together. And what we're really doing is we're investing in long-term memory. And so, for my kids who are very oppositional, right? Who are just saying, you know what, I don't care, it's dumb, I don't want to do it. I just explain to them, look, I was like you when I was a kid. I didn't want to do stuff that I didn't want to do. I mean, I still don't like that as an adult. But, I think the one thing that's changed is that I recognize that at some point you have to put the time in. And when you explain to a kid that if you invest in your long-term memory, you're going to get more time back, more free time back for yourself, because it's going to take you less time to study for exams, midterms, finals, if we end up having them again, right? Those things will be a little bit easier. And then more importantly, you can move on to do other things because, you'll be strengthening some of these skills that, will pass on to all your subjects.
Right. And less stress.
And what?
Everyone involved. I say less stress for everyone involved, right? All right.
Long run.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insight and for sharing some of the strategies that you've been implementing with your families during your work with them. We really appreciate it. We'll be doing another talk soon, hopefully in about 2 weeks, March 14, on a different subject. So keep on our Facebook page, check the Facebook page for updates as to how, when, and what. And Tyler, thank you so much for your time and for dedicating your afternoon to speaking with us about this.
Oh, Francine, it was my pleasure. Always great to connect.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye.